I think that especially if you're just starting out, focus on one area and become really great at that. I mean, a writer should be writing every single day. A director should be, if he's not shooting every day, taking photos, capturing imagery that really inspires you every single day, and tapping into the emotion of the imagery, because it's all about emotional storytelling.
If you can trust yourself enough to know when you think you have an original idea, it'll just build bit by bit. And if you can just stay focused on one of these subject areas, whether it's like fantasy that you just think you have like a particularly interesting world about, and you can sort of start building that universe by writing about it or putting out shorts, or if there's like a topic based in the real world that you can develop documentaries around or scripted projects or what have you, that's really valuable. And I think it's just about maintaining that focus on one particular subject for long enough that you can become a bit of an expert, you can talk about it in an informed way, and you can pivot into different mediums as well.
I think for me, the most important thing was always finding the right people to work with. I think learning how to communicate with people and to cooperate with people is, I think, a huge thing. And for cinematographers especially, I think these days, there's so many options there. There's so many things you can do. I always say to them, you can shoot things every single day. And it's all about practicing, and it's all about making mistakes as much as possible. At that stage in your career, make as many mistakes as possible, because that's how you learn. And in the end, filmmaking to me is about working with people and communicating with people and finding those people that inspire you and people that you can inspire, because I think that when that happens, you really come up with something that's interesting and challenging and something that hopefully people will like.
And one of the best ways to, I think, inspire people is to let them show you what they can do before you try to tell them what you would like, because the big win is when it's cinematographer or an actor comes up with an idea that's so much better than the idea you had. It's important as a director or a writer to have an idea, but you've got to be open first to what somebody else might bring, and and let them be their best. And that's how you get a great movie. I think one of the skills today is knowing when to stop rolling the boulder up the hill. I have friends who make movies, and it's very difficult. It's like giving up on your child, saying, look, he's never, when he was born, he might have been president of the United States, though that may not be such a lofty goal as it was a few years ago.
Anyone can become president.
Anyway, it seems like anyone can. It's not impossible. But you have to kind of know when maybe he should learn a trade, that the kid has to get out of the basement and earn a living, and you keep trying to take a movie that isn't quite working and keep rolling that rock up the hill. You're better off to spend the time to make a next movie. So the advice I try to give people is make the movie for as little as possible, take subject matters where you don't need a lot of investment, and know why you're making it.
Certainly when projects don't work out, they're tough decisions. I mean, I don't know that I've cracked any kind of formula for when that boulder needs to stop. But I find it a lot easier on the digital side because it's smaller investment, quicker turnaround. You're not doing a huge marketing rollout for it, so if it doesn't catch, you can just kind of bury it and keep moving. But now that we're in bigger budget projects, I mean, just the calculations that have to go in, you just have to accept that you're never going to be totally sure what's going to hit and what's not. Oftentimes I'm surprised by things for how well they do, and often I'm surprised by things how not well they do. So I don't know. Do you ever learn?
I don't think you ever know. I think so you have to hit the right nerve at the time, and there's a lot of luck, I think, involved. I mean, coming out at the right weekend, for example, or on the right day of the week.
You have to have the passion for every project. You have to believe in it when no one else does, right? Especially if you're taking it from an idea all the way through to the final product. But certainly at some point the numbers don't lie. You have to really take all of that into account and learn the lessons of what didn't work, and for your next project you don't make that mistake, and you just make something better.
I think big loss that I've seen is when people do projects just to get an audience, that they would never like.
Yeah.
That they're doing movies.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't understand that, because you put in the same amount of effort, and if it doesn't make money, then you've just really, what do you have left at the end of the day?
I always just tell people to just keep doing stuff. just don't stop. If you're not doing something right now, start something and connect with people that have even a slightly bigger platform than yours. Try and get them on side with what you're doing, and just don't stop collaborating and making your own work, and you'll find your voice and your way.